Good morning, everybody. It's Hammer. Today is Wednesday, March 19th, 2025. I, of course, am here with your daily mortgage rate update, the only place on the web where you guys get to join me live each and every weekday morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, coming to you live on Facebook and on YouTube. You, of course, can go ahead and watch the replay, but if you're here this morning, say good morning. If you are watching on the replay, don't forget, give me hashtag replay in the comments. Let me know that you were here. Let Facebook and YouTube know that you were here. Whether you're here live or on the replay, don't forget to smash that like button. Maybe tag an LO friend. Help us grow our viewership, or share this post in a Facebook group if you're on Facebook. If you're on YouTube, make sure you give it that thumbs up. There's a little thumbs up under the video. And of course, leave a comment or two. Always appreciated. And make sure you subscribe as well. If you'd like a reminder that I'm going live each morning, that just hit the saw it hit the airwaves there. You can get a text reminder with the link to Facebook and YouTube. Save you the trouble of finding that. You, of course, can unsubscribe anytime. I don't mark it on this. At least I haven't yet. But you can go ahead and get a text reminder. Use the cool QR code over here. Where is it? Here it is. Right here. Use this cool QR code, or you can go to hmmr.io/reminder. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and say hi to all of my friends here this morning. If you are here live, make sure you say good morning. Let's go ahead and say hi to all the live folks here on Fed Day. Good morning, Mr. James Mahan. Great to see you, sir. Mallory Fotiadis. Good morning. Always a familiar face. Amy Blauser. Wonderful to have you as well. Kenny Rivard. Good morning. Rock, what's up, man? Haven't seen you in a while. Hope all is well in your world. I'm sure there's still lots of snow out that way, or maybe not. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Amber Moser, live from the sauna. Don't pass out. Do you do a cold plunge too? Like, I know that Joe Rogan's big on that, the sauna and the cold plunge and all that. Brandy Brickler, good morning out there in Texas. We've got Rob Stewart. Good morning, sir. Glenn Boussard, great to see you. Yasmin Martin, wonderful to have you as well. Ron Siegel, good morning, sir. Ron Siegel says today is National Chocolate Caramel Day. Isn't that called like a turtle? Isn't that what that's called when you have caramel and chocolate? I always thought that was a turtle. Let me know in the comments, y'all. Is that a turtle? I'm not sure if that's what it is. Angela Walters, good morning. Allison Foy, great to see you as well. Michael Love, good to have you here. Debbie Richardson. Ron Siegel said, great call yesterday on Grab and Go Social. Thank you, Ron. Appreciate that. We will definitely continue to deliver on that and improve that format so that we've got some real value to that. I want that to be a high value program. High value, low cost program is my goal on that. Amber, I can't get with the cold plunge yet. Yeah, me neither. I probably should, though. My body is pretty beat up, and I hear it does some great things. Giddy up, Mr. Randy Tico. Great to see you, sir. Jerry Avila, Mike Brown. Wonderful to have you all here as well. Okay, my friends. Well, let's get into it. Let's go ahead and let's get started. We're going to talk about what's going on today with the Fed. Before we get there, let's give you a quick overview. Mortgage-backed securities currently down about 6 basis points on the morning. Not enough to worry about. That's going to bring pricing right about the same as yesterday. If you take a look here, down here in the bottom of the chart here, when pricing came out yesterday, it was, right around 101.30. We're right around 101.34. Not going to see much of a difference in pricing. It's going to be about yesterday. Quick recap on what happened yesterday. Mortgage-backed securities did improve a little bit there were a handful of lenders that actually repriced better. Let me know in the comments if you saw reprices better. A lot of times when we see that kind of movement, 8 to 10 basis points improvement on the day, you're generally going to see some of the wholesale lenders improve the pricing. Also, any lender that was a little conservative in the morning pricing, they may tend to improve their pricing as well. I expected we were going to see some improvement yesterday. I told you that there was a good chance we would. That reprice risk on the day yesterday was low, and that's exactly how it played out. Again, I'm not giving myself too much credit. It's a very easy call right ahead of the Fed meeting. Today's when we're going to see all the activity. Let's take a look at that 10-year Treasury yield, 4.30. We got to round this up out to the hundredths of a percent here. 4.30 on the day. You can see that it's really flattened out if you take a look here at the charts. Good morning, Route here. Good morning, Mr. Mike Morano. Happy belated birthday, my friend. Bobby Searson, great to have you here. Charlie Bedita, good morning, my man. Monica Dinkins, great to have you here as well. So looking at this 10-year Treasury yield, again, we're just kind of getting a baseline for where everything's going to go today. Going to see a lot of activity. It's all going to happen at 2 p.m. Eastern time. That's when the Fed's going to come out with their policy statement and their dot plot, and everything is going to, kind of play out there. It is very, very unlikely that we see the Fed raise rates at this meeting. So let's go ahead and take a look. Right now, there is a 99% probability markets are pricing in that there will be no Fed rate cut or rate hike today. Rates will stay exactly the same. And that's very, very likely where things will play out. Hold on, my mouse was not moving the way it was supposed to. So let's take a look here and kind of get into it. Where do I want? I want it right there. So Powell's message. So here's what's going to happen. We're going to get the Fed's policy statement where they come out and they change a couple of words. We're going to get that at 2 p.m. Eastern time. We're also going to get the Fed's dot plot. Right now, their dot plot, when we take a look at the current dot plot, it shows that expectations for 2025, that most of them, see this blue gathering of dots here, most of the Fed members, there's 19 Fed members, they anonymously go out there and say where they think rates are going to end 2025, 2026, 2027, and then the longer run, right? And they, the last time around, they said, hey, we think 2025, we're going to see 2 rate cuts, that we're going to be at 3.75 to 4.0, basically. Right now, we're at 4.25 to 4.5, and that would be 2 quarter-point rate cuts. Now, when you take a look at what markets are currently pricing in, a week ago, markets were pricing in 3 rate cuts. That was the big leader. Right now, we're at 4.25. That's this column here. 1 rate cut would be 4 to 4.25. 2 rate cuts would be 3 3/4 to 4. 3 rate cuts would be at 3.5. Now, if we go ahead and let's compare, we can see that a month ago, the expectations were very, very likely that we would see no rate cuts or 1 rate cut. And that was really kind of the key. Possibly 2 rate cuts a month ago. And there was very little expectation of 3, 4, 5 rate cuts, right? So you'd see that here. As we go from the lightest column on the right, which was a month ago, then we go to a week ago, a day ago, and today. So when you look at this, we just recently, the expectations were much higher a week ago, 32%, that we would see 3 rate cuts. That's dropped down to about 27%. So not a huge drop, but enough that we've seen where 2 rate cuts were the majority, now clearly out there, right? So 3 rate cuts were the majority a week ago. Now 2 rate cuts are back to the majority here. So that's what we're seeing. Now, how the messaging comes out, the dot plot is going to be part of that, and it's going to be important because if the Fed members right now, they were showing 2 rate cuts for the year. If the Fed members were to move to 3 rate cuts, markets would have a positive reaction to that. I think it's very likely we see things stay very much the way they are now. I don't think that they would go less than 2, but I think they're going to hold steady. And that would really kind of stick with what Powell said previously, right? So a week ago, or 2 weeks ago, when Powell was last speaking, it was Friday the 7th. Yeah, right before the blackout period. And Powell said that the economy was fine and that he didn't think the Fed was going to need to take any action. Now, traders are going to be scrutinizing his comments during his press conference at 2:30 p.m. Eastern time, and they're going to be looking for cracks in that stance. They're going to be looking for signs that he's changed his mind and other Fed members have influenced and changed his mind on that. All right. And if markets get optimistic that the Fed will need to cut more because of the economy slowing down, the labor market weakening, that'll help mortgage bonds improve a little bit and help rates improve. Now, let's take a look at mortgage-backed securities and look at this path that we've seen here. So if you look back at the beginning of February, we were up here around 101, okay? And they lost some ground as we went through the middle of February. After the middle of February, we saw a really strong rally, and it really topped out right here around March 3rd. We did see a day on March 11th where it actually bounced higher. Look at that. But since then, we've really dropped below that. And you see again, everything that goes up goes down. And this is all based on momentum and market speculation. So as traders believe that the economy is weakening, that tariffs are going to cause economic slowdown, then they start to believe, hey, that's going to be a good spot to put our money in bonds. If we now, with the Fed coming out there, if the Fed doesn't seem worried about that, it's going to fuel more of that speculation that markets aren't going to see improvement. If we see the mortgage-backed securities drop today, right now they're down about 8 basis points. By the time we get into the Fed meeting, generally you improve a little bit as we ramp up and get into the Fed meeting. So generally being down a couple of basis points now will turn into being up a couple of basis points right around 2 p.m. as we head into the Fed meeting. We're likely to see the first reaction at 2 p.m. Eastern time, right around 2 or 3 minutes after that, depending on how that dot plot comes out, what's said in the policy statement. But we're going to see the real movement later during Powell's press conference. Remember, the press conference starts at 2:30 p.m. Eastern time, and based on how that press conference plays out is how we're going to see bonds react. And I think that there's a really good shot that we're going to see rates creep worse this week. I think that I don't think that markets are going to like what Powell has to say. I think that Powell is going to use a lot of the same, we need to wait and see how the data comes out, see what's happening with jobs kind of a thing. We all know that the jobs data that comes out the first week of April is going to show weakness based on what happened with Doge and the government jobs and all of that. So I don't know that it's going to be enough to really cause a lot of angst at the Fed. The Fed has to navigate what's going on here. There's another article this morning from Timiraos, and if we look at this one a little bit, there's some kind of writing between the lines. The Fed's wait-and-see outlook obscures a bigger strategy shift. Now, again, is this Nick Timiraos's point of view? Is this his observation? Or is he the Fed whisperer? Is this what Powell has kind of whispered to him and what message they're trying to spread? And there's some argument about that. Central banks can lower rates because of good or bad news. The window for good cuts is closing due to new inflation risks. And I think that the Fed is concerned that the tariffs are going to lead to inflation because it's a supply-demand cost issue, right? And when costs go up for whatever reason, it's going to, that drives inflation because cost of goods goes up. However, the question is, will the cost of goods go up? And that depends on the supply and the demand. If more, depending on how much tariffs are too. So Federal Reserve officials are set to hold interest rates steady at the end of their 2-day meeting Wednesday, but underneath the surface, their strategy is shifting. And this is what markets are looking for signs of as well. In the central bank's new quarterly economic projections, most officials are expected to pencil in 1 or 2 rate cuts this year. Now, remember, markets were expecting 3 and are still, although expecting 2 with the majority here, that's, again, if we go to the end of the year, this is 2 right here, but 3 is still out there. It's still got some momentum, right? So taking a look there, at first glance, you would suggest little meaningful change in the rate outlook since the last set of projections in December when most officials penciled in 2 cuts. Right? These projections are a subject of intense focus on Wall Street, but they're likely to obscure how the Fed's wait-and-see holding pattern has undergone an important reset because of the threat of an expansive trade war that sends up prices. The Fed can cut because of good news. Inflation has declined, as was the case last year. Officials can also cut because of bad news. The economy is sputtering. Now, again, economic weakness leads to bonds doing better and mortgage rates dropping. Not tremendously, but coming down. The case for the first type of cuts has dimmed because of sweeping tariff increases, and they appear much more likely than they did just 7 weeks ago. when the Fed officials last met. Tariffs represent an economic shock that can suddenly decrease the economy's ability to supply goods or services, sending up prices while weakening economic growth. Now, this could be tempered, though, by demand. Depends on, consumers are taxed. We've seen other articles talking about how consumers are getting near the end of their credit rope. So if they're spending less, then there's a lot less of an effect on the price increases that we do see, because it still creates that demand thing. So Ron Siegel said, let's see what Ron is saying here. He said, another article where people do not understand tariffs. Tariffs are not inflationary. They're punitive. Supply chain will simply move. Instead of buying from China, Mexico, or Canada, the imported will buy those widgets from a country with more favorable pricing. The tariff is irrelevant. Yeah, but it's a knee-jerk pricing. It takes time to move the supply chain and from different things too. So that's part of it. I mean, I do agree with you, Ron, but yet, if you're buying from, say, Canada, you're not going to be able to immediately source that from Zimbabwe. It's going to take a while for that. So that's where a lot of that comes. Consumer sentiment has fallen recently amid comments from President and senior advisors that they're willing to tolerate some short-term weakness in financial markets, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll see how this all plays out. But again, you want to be ready today. My advice when it really comes down to it is you want to keep your options open today and see where things play out, but you've got to be ready to lock in loans and decide how you want to handle this before we get there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen again in a second. Let me just pull up my email. I'm going to go to my written lock advice so we can just kind of go through this a little bit. Come on. I want to show this on the screen. Hold on a minute. Let me move this over so that, okay. Entire screen, share, side by side. There we go. Okay. So taking a look at this, right? Let's look here. So loans closing in 15 days should cautiously float, but be ready to lock. Right now, I think it's more likely a chance that we see markets react poorly to the Fed comments today, and that these loans don't want to take on too much risk and should be ready to lock at the first sign of trouble. So that's a definite right there that you want to be ready to lock these loans. Anything closing in the next couple of weeks through the end of March here, you want to be ready to lock those. Now, loans that have 15 to 30 days, these are loans closing more in the middle of April. They have some opportunity to see a recovery. And also, if we get labor data the first week of April that shows some weakness, we could see rates improve. But when you take a look at rate sheets, how much improvement would we actually see? Hold on a minute. I'm going to move this over so that you guys can get these. There you go. So right now, we take a look here, 6.78 versus 6.80, 81. We've been right in those high sixes, and that's likely where we would stay. How much would it go up before it improved with that jobs data? That's the question. And I think you would see things creep higher, and then that jobs data could help. So I would be in a stance, even though it may seem to be conservative, I would be in a stance of locking those loans also. And be ready to lock those. Now, anything is 30 plus days out, something that's longer, you have more time to work with. And when we see things when we look at what goes on here, we can see it drop down, but we'll see it cycle again. We'll see it creep back up. And the question is, how far will rates go higher? And then how much can they fall again? And we'll have to kind of wait and see. But for loans that do have some time, I think you've got less of a concern, and you can go ahead and give those some time. So that's my take on everything, y'all. I hope that helps you today. Obviously, be ready when the Fed does come out. That's the key. Ron said, I used to import. It took me days to move to the purchase to another country, always checking prices from all over the globe. Oh, that's good to know. Thanks, Ron. So Ron says, hey, less of it. Tons of snow and a new storm today for Iraq. Yeah, go play in the snow, man. It's 51 degrees here in the Smokies. I'll take it. I don't want to be in the snow. So, all right, my friends. Well, thank you again. We'll see tomorrow how this all played out. Hopefully, you'll join me. Remember, if you would like an email of what's going on each and every weekday morning, you can go ahead and sign up at www.ratelockadvice.com. If you'd like to sign up for our text alerts, you can sign up at text alerts at www.ratetextalerts.com. You can get alerts. We'll be sending them out today about what's going on. We'll be sending an alert out immediately after the Fed meeting, during the Fed press conference, and then at the end of the day. Those are $7 a month. You should definitely check them out. Also, Grab and Go Social presale is live, my friends. It's only live for a couple of days. Ron Siegel gave a great little testimonial a minute ago and said, we had a great call yesterday. Go find out all the details about Grab and Go Social at hmmr.io/GGS, right? Or go to grabandgosocial.com. Grabandgosocial.com also works. That will be open for pre-sale, where you can get the best pricing, lock in some really great savings. And that's just, pre-sale means we're not doing much to really sell you on it. You're signing up because you want to see what it's about and you love our stuff. We're going to officially launch. We pushed the launch off to the 31st, right at the end of the month, just because so many things are going on and my schedule's been so full. So we're gonna launch, and then once we launch, it's going to be launching at a much higher price point. The program will be $147 a month. And when we launch, we'll still have a launch special, but the best pricing to be had is now. You can get in for $7 and check it out and see what it's about. Make sure that you read the fine print, though, because that $7 is only for 1 month. Then it jumps up to $67 a month for a few months. Really give you some time to see what it's about. And then you stay with discounted pricing after that. You'll have continued discounted. So you'll never get bumped up to that 147. You will stay at discounted pricing. And you can lock that in. Again, very little risk, $7 a month, cancel anytime. There's no, punitive, there's no whatever, no contracts, no setup fees, no anything. So, all right, my friends, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. I will talk to y'all later, and have a great one.